Hello friends, welcome back to this channel. This is Ritesh Budden and today we are going to explore a beautiful and an emotional story from your class 11th English Hornbill textbook, The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. This story is not just about an old lady. It's about love, memories, simplicity and the unspoken bond between a boy and his grandmother. So let's begin by touching this very beautiful journey. The writer Khushwant Singh begins by telling us about his grandmother. Old, wrinkled and beautiful in a very peaceful way. He says, I had always seen her like that, short, fat, slightly bent, with a peaceful face and silvery white hair. She looked like she had always been old. Can you imagine someone so old that you can't even picture them as young? That's what the writer felt. Now, the bond between the grandmother and the author. When he was a little boy, they lived together in a village. The grandmother took care of him like a second mother. Every morning she would wake him up, get him ready and say her morning prayers loudly, fingers moving on her rosary beads. The author listened to her softly but never really understood the words. She would help him with his school bag. Both the grandmother and the grandson, they would go to school together as the school and the village were attached close to each other. And the grandmother would read scriptures sitting outside and the grandson would study alphabets inside the school. And while returning back to their house, they would feed the village dogs with stale chapatis. See how caring and devoted she was. She had never thought of herself, only of the child, her prayers and her kindness to animals. Now, after this came a very big change in their relationship. They moved to the city and this changed their relationship. Now the author went to an English school in a bus. The grandmother could no longer accompany him and she didn't like the new things he was learning. Science, English and English words, the subjects taught in English and music. She didn't understand them. She was especially unhappy about music because she believed music was only for beggars or low-class people or people of less value. Even though they lived in the same house, they spoke less and less. But she never complained. She spent more time praying, feeding sparrows, and doing things on her own. As the author grew up and went to college, a university, he got a separate room. Now they hardly even saw each other during the day as the common link of their friendship was snapped, that was the room. Then came another turning point. The author went abroad for 5 years. Many people thought she might not live that long, but the grandmother didn't say a word. No tears, no drama. She simply came to the station to see him off, kissed his forehead and kept praying. And after that what happened? When the author returned after 5 long years, she was still alive, still praying, still feeding the birds. And she hugged him. Her joy was quiet but deep. That evening, for the first time, she didn't pray. She called all the women of the neighborhood, sang old songs with an old drum, and celebrated his return. Everyone thought this sudden joy might have been too much for her to bear. Now, the next morning, the grandmother fell ill. It wasn't a serious illness, but she said her time had come. She stopped talking to everyone and spent her last few hours silently praying and moving her fingers on the rosary beads. And then after that, she passed away peacefully. Now comes the most touching part of the story. You know what's that? When the news spread, thousands of sparrows came to their house. They sat quietly around her dead body. Not one sparrow chirped. They didn't eat the breadcrumbs given to them. They just sat there, mourning silently. And after that, they flew away when the body was taken for cremation. Even birds who cannot speak showed their respect and love. That's how pure her soul was. So, dear students, the portrait of a lady is not just about a grandmother and a grandson. It's a tribute to unconditional love, devotion, and dignity. The author never describes her in flashy terms, yet we can all picture her clearly. Her calm nature, her faith in God, her kindness to animals, her silent strength, all of this makes her unforgettable. We all have or had someone like this in our lives too. A grandparent, a teacher, or someone who quietly gave us everything without asking for anything back. If you found this video useful, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your companions, and please do subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.